Hello, and thank you for joining this webinar on driving maximum value from outcome-based marketing campaigns. On behalf of Dynamic CIO, Google Cloud, TrafficGuard, and OnlineSales.ai, I welcome you all. I'm Ashwani Mishra, Executive Editor at Dynamic CIO, and I will be your host for this session. Before we begin, I have a small quick announcement to make. I request all our speakers to type in their questions in the Q&A box that you see on the screen. Our speakers will respond to these questions at the end of the session. Thank you, and I think we are good to begin. Chief Marketing Officers, or CMOs, have been working towards reassessing their organizational mandate while accelerating business growth. CMOs and the respective teams are expected to excel in building customer trust and create a brand that has empathy combined with data-driven strategies that deliver results. Today, marketers are implementing artificial intelligence and machine learning-enabled digital marketing campaigns, advertising campaigns. Using these technologies, they have been able to generate higher conversion rates, reduce cost per lead, increase ROI, and customer retention. They are also looking to automate remote and routine tasks that will allow them to have more time that can be utilized to create new campaigns. However, creating a collaborative marketing strategy is not easy. Enterprises are looking to increase their marketplace revenues and at the same time empower their brands to engage with relevant audience. Despite their efforts to drive measurable business outcomes, they are also fighting a war that is real, and this war is with ad frauds. Fraudulent tactics have become increasingly sophisticated, and it has resulted in draining marketing budgets and campaign performance. With an arsenal of effective methods like domain spoofing and stacking, pixel stuffing, fraudsters today present a genuine threat to healthy conversion rates and optimized ad spend. The consequences of ad fraud can be huge on budgets and performance. It can impact three key metrics, namely return on investment, conversions, and data validity. How can organizations achieve measurable outcomes on ad monetization and fight ad fraud? How can they use AI and ML to create a monetized, collaborative marketing strategy and deploy end-to-end protection and detection capabilities to maximize return on ad spend? These are some points that we will look to cover in this webinar. We'll hear from our exciting lineup of speakers on why businesses should not ignore the threat of ad fraud and how marketers can get the most of their marketing campaigns. With this, I now invite Tim Dawson, Application ISV Lead, Australia, New Zealand at Google Cloud, who will provide a quick introduction on Google Cloud and share his views on the value that enterprises can gain with Google Cloud ISVs. Tim has over 20 years of senior business development and relationship management experience in enterprise technology. Over the last 4 years, he has been with Google Cloud in tech partner ISV sales and solution roles. Over to you, Tim.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome today, and greetings from chilly Sydney, Australia. I have the honor and the privilege of being your host today, and I'd like to take just a couple minutes to talk about the importance of ISV partnerships to Google Cloud. We have been partner-friendly and partner-focused since day one of our company's founding. And since 2021, we have seen our clients and customers focus on digital transformation accelerate exponentially. And our partners are extremely important to us. Our ecosystem of partners extend the value that we provide to our customers. And they help our customers to, as you see here, innovate and transform, and also grow and drive profitability as the landscape and the demands of our customers are consistently changing. Now, excuse me, I think I have one more page here. I'm having some slight technical challenges, so I'm just going to continue to speak and say that we are joined today by two very important partners. And you're first going to hear from our partner TrafficGuard, and then secondly from our partner Online Sales. I think you're going to find that both of their value propositions are extremely timely, particularly in context of what Ashwani was just describing for us. And so I think without any further ado, I'd now like to pass the ball back to Ashwani. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for the quick short introduction and setting the context. I would now like to call upon Matt Sutton, Chief Revenue Officer, TrafficGuard, for the next session. But before I do that, I would also remind our viewers to kindly type in the questions in the Q&A box as we move ahead. I'm sure our speakers will take those questions at the end. A quick introduction to Matt. Matt has been living in Singapore and China over the last 18 years and has devoted his time in building, managing, selling, and integrating digital and technology sector ventures. He is also an entrepreneur in residence at INSEAD Business School and an advisor at early stage startup generator Antler. You can take it from here, Matt.
Thank you. Morning, everybody. Let me just share my screen with you. Give me 1 second. There we go. So thank you, everybody, for dialing in and joining. And I want to start by saying thank you to Google and the whole cloud and ISV team for all of their support. We're very much enjoying partnering with them to deliver their customers world-class technology services. We've only got 20 minutes for this session, so I am going to jump right in. And we're going to spend the next 20 minutes talking about the impact of ad fraud. So the impact of ad fraud on your advertising budgets. And so I thought I would start by setting the scene on the size and scale and impact of that problem on the world. Now, some of you might be aware that the total digital advertising market is now worth $500 billion. That's kind of crazy when you think about it. Like every single year, advertisers across the world spend $500 billion on digital advertising. And obviously the reason they do that is because it works. Digital advertising sends customers to their online stores where they purchase. And so that's why advertisers spend so much money on digital advertising. Now here at TrafficGuard, we're aware that a lot of that advertising never actually reaches real consumers. And if you go and talk to Adobe, for example, they'll tell you that 28% of that $500 billion actually reaches non-human traffic. So those ads are clicked on by bots and fake traffic, synthetic users that are designed to defraud advertisers. So every single year of that $500 billion, $127 billion of it is lost to non-human traffic. Think about that. These numbers are absolutely crazy. If you go and speak to Nielsen, they'll tell you that the average advertiser makes about 2.87x ROI on that advertising. So in other words, for every dollar that they spend, they make $3 in customer revenue. Now you might be thinking, we don't do that well, or you might be thinking, we do way better than that. Obviously, that's a dynamic number and it's different for all advertisers. But if we just take that as an average across that advertising spend, that means that every single year, $370 billion of customer value is stolen from the world by fraudulent actors and by bad actors. And if you kind of pull out a little bit and take even more of a helicopter view of that, in terms of company valuation, typically we value companies about 10x revenue. Obviously, it's different for all verticals, but just to kind of look at a benchmark, very typically we sort of say, for every dollar of revenue, we will value that company about 10x that revenue. So that means that every single year, somewhere between 1.8 and 3.6 trillion dollars of capital value is stolen from the world. These numbers are absolutely crazy. And there are not a lot of technology solutions in the world that will allow you to go out and detect and prevent and take those dollars back. So here at TrafficGuard, we're extremely passionate about returning that capital value to the world, about returning that customer value to businesses, and returning those marketing dollars back to marketing teams where they belong. And we spend all day, every day, doing exactly that. To give you a bit of an introduction on who we are, as you're obviously now aware, we are a Google Cloud partner and a Premier Ads partner. We're publicly listed on the AEST, on the Australian stock market. So, you know, you can always Google around and have a look at some of our reports and announcements to the market. We've spent the last 5 years and over $50 million investing in our technology solutions. And so far, we have over 4,000 advertisers that use our technology to detect and prevent for the fraud and invalid traffic problem that I just spoke to you about. And so we're very proud about partnering with those advertisers. We're very proud that they use our technology. And we're obviously very much enjoying partnering with the Google Cloud team to get more and more Google Cloud customers using this technology to take those lost marketing dollars back. I thought it would be worthwhile to, whilst we're on the call today, to kind of make sure that we define what invalid traffic is properly. You know, for a lot of our advertisers, they're kind of aware of some of those numbers that I chatted to you about, but maybe they're not yet aware of what it looks like, and they're not yet aware of how it's affecting them and where in the advertising chain it is, and what is invalid traffic and how is it affecting my advertising. And Google has a really good definition of this, in fact, that we use when we talk to all of our clients, which is invalid traffic is any activity that doesn't come from a real user with genuine interest. And the second part of that sentence is really important. A real user with genuine interest. So a lot of fraud and invalid traffic is literally non-human traffic. So these are click bots and click fraud, etc. But another element of invalid traffic is where, you know, you might be buying advertising which does come from a real user, but they don't at that time have genuine interest. So maybe this is a real user and then there's multiple impressions or multiple click tags there. Maybe this is the same user that's coming to you again and again. Maybe you've added another network channel on, but that network channel is just giving you the same users that you already had. So you haven't increased your genuine interest. So there are a lot of different kinds of fraud and invalid traffic, but ultimately it's about making sure that every dollar that you spend reaches a real user, and that real user has a genuine interest at that time. So that's a really useful definition from Google. Now, there's lots and lots of different kinds of invalid traffic out there, and we've only got 20 minutes. So I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I think this is a really useful introduction to kind of start getting your head around it. There are two broad types of fraud and invalid traffic. The first one, as you can see here on the left, is general, and the second one here on the right is sophisticated. And as the term probably makes quite clear, sophisticated invalid traffic is actually really, really hard to catch. General invalid traffic is a little bit easier to catch. When you're working with a technology solution, you need to be using a technology solution that allows you to capture every element of invalid traffic. So wherever there is not a real user that doesn't have real interest, and you need to be able to make sure that it can capture both general invalid traffic and sophisticated invalid traffic. So that's obviously very important. And for a high level kind of intro understanding of it, general invalid traffic involves rules. So it's a rule-based thing. So for example, if a click comes from a web crawler, so it's not coming from a human click on an ad, but it's coming from a web crawler, there will be certain characteristics associated with it, which can be filtered with parameter checks. And TrafficGuard has many, many, many of these rules to enable us to filter this traffic and catch it. And then with sophisticated invalid traffic, we're more leaning on analytics and machine learning. So it involves a lot of analytics and machine learning. where we're capturing anomalies. So for example, where you have a click to install time with a mobile app, which is anomalous from all of the other activity that you're seeing. So from across all of your networks and all of your organic, what is the typical click to install time? And then where do you have anomalies where that click to install time is different to all of the other click to install times you're getting? And that's a dynamic, real-time, always on machine learning that takes place. And it's just one example of the many, many ways in which we use machine learning to capture fraud and invalid traffic. And I love this slide because it's just like a smorgasbord of horrible looking things, but it's a really, again, useful way. We use this deck, by the way, when we're doing workshops for CMOs across the globe, and it's a really useful way to sort of start thinking about all the different kinds of invalid traffic that are out there: ad stacking, bots, cookie stuffing, click farms, domain spoofing, incentivized ads, known host, location fraud, malware, pixel stuffing, returning users, user agent spoofing. It's all horrible sounding things. And with this list, we could present 50 slides of this. There are so many different kinds of fraud and invalid traffic out there. And so TrafficGuard is built specifically to be detecting and finding these things all of the time in real time, and then giving advertisers the means to then prevent for them in real time, so that they then buy valid traffic, so they grow faster and more efficiently. And to give you an idea of some of the things that we see in the ANZ market, we'd say about 10 to 15% of Google PPC can be reaching invalid traffic. And as soon as we turn on TrafficGuard, we can detect that for you, and we can prevent it in real time, so that 10 to 15% then reaches valid traffic to drive return on ad spend. Similarly, and these numbers are kind of crazy, I know, we see anything up to 60% of performance net traffic is from bots. So 6 out of every 10 clicks in performance channel partners doesn't even come from a real human. It's just bots crawling across there, hoping to get either paid for a click, or if you're paying on conversions, get attributed for a click that didn't actually come from a real user with genuine interest. Google is obviously a much cleaner traffic source, but still has some invalid than other channels. Performance networks, some of the highest invalid traffic out there. And we also see that around 20 to 40% of all conversions are either invalid, so they're not real, or more typically, they're attributed to the wrong partner. So it's a real conversion, but it's been attributed to the wrong partner because of the amount of click fraud and click spam that's coming in those referring paid marketing channels. These are all numbers that are taken from a snapshot of our ANZ clients. So it kind of gives you an idea of the invalid traffic that's out there that very typically is undetected until we go and integrate TrafficGuard. So we have a poll that you will be able to see where we're asking you, do you actively protect against ad fraud or invalid traffic across your digital advertising campaigns? Typically, we see that advertisers are not. So they're kind of aware that there's a problem out there, but they were not really aware that there are technology solutions that will enable them to detect and prevent that invalid traffic. And obviously here at TrafficGuard, we're extremely passionate about giving advertisers those tools. Now, we have a lot of different technology that can be applied to a lot of different channels. So I just wanted to simplify it for the purposes of this introductory call today, and say there are 2 main ways that you can prevent for the effects of fraud and invalid traffic. And you can see them here on this slide. The first one is pre-bid. So that is where we find that invalid traffic within your paid marketing channel. We then add it to an exclusion list, and we make sure that on a pre-bid basis, you never buy it again. So it's kind of like a desktop cleaner, finding that fraud and invalid traffic, excluding it on a pre-bid basis, so that all the bids subsequently do not include that fraud and invalid traffic. And we have lots and lots of tools and integrations to do that within the Google PPC channel, within DSP and programmatic channels. And another key way that we also prevent fraud and invalid traffic is on an attribution basis. So for advertisers that are not buying on a CPM or a CPC, but they're paying on a CPA, so they're paying on conversions, then we, in real time, we correct the attribution. So we change the attribution journey of that traffic. So the fraudulent traffic is not included in the attribution of an install or a conversion or a sign up. So all of those conversions to signups are only based on the real traffic. So the top one is pre-bid correction, and the bottom one is attribution correction. And of those 4,000 advertisers that I mentioned before, they all use one of or a combination of those. And so just a bit more of a deep dive on our PPC product, on our pre-bid product. Our pre-bid product is already integrated into the PPC channel. So any advertiser that's buying Google PPC traffic can connect their account to TrafficGuard, and we can instantly give them full funnel analytics on where that invalid traffic is and enable them to prevent for it. And as I mentioned, of those 4,000 advertisers, the vast majority of them are using our Google PPC pre-bid product. We are the current Drum Search Technology of the Year for this product. As you can see, MarTech Best PPC Platform, Mobile Marketing Awards winner. So we're multi-award winning for this particular solution, and many of the world's leading advertisers now are using this solution and have connected their Google accounts. And to give you an example of the kind of results that we can generate, this is one of our leading sports betting customers, where by connecting their Google account to TrafficGuard, we've been able to redirect 25% of their spend that was coming from either bots or return customers that were using their brand search keyword to come through when they would have just come through organic, and delivered them a 24x return on investment. Sports betting is a vertical that is very highly affected by invalid traffic. So we work with many of the world's leading sports betting customers. Moving on from that pre-bid example, this is an example of our attribution product. So with our attribution product, we connect to the attribution platform, whether that's an affiliate platform or whether that's a mobile measurement platform, and we then connect at the click level into the referring traffic channel, if that's a mobile app network or any other kind of performance network or affiliate partner, to give us full funnel detection. And what we're then able to do is to prevent those invalid clicks from entering the attribution pool, and so that we only attribute based on real data. And we do this for some of the world's leading mobile app advertisers and leading affiliate advertisers. And this is another example case study from one of the, as you can see, from one of the world's leading entertainment apps. If and when we connect offline, we can give you all of these brand names, and you'll realize that they're some of the world's largest advertisers. And you can see that by integrating with this particular product, this attribution correction product, we were able to take a client where 70% of their installs were either not real or were being attributed to the wrong partner. So they were paying partners when they shouldn't have been. And that's what we found in testing. And then once we moved into prevention, we've got this all the way down to only 15%. And they were able to drive an additional 600,000 installs from the exact same budget. So you can see there that with fraud prevention, you're able to grow faster and more efficiently, so it delivers huge ROI. We're obviously extremely excited now about being listed on the Google Cloud Marketplace. Over the past few years, I mentioned that level of investment in those 4,000 advertisers. They've been only through our direct sales teams, but now partnering with the amazing Google Cloud team, we're starting to introduce these products and services to all of Google Cloud's customers. And over the last few months, we've started to run trials and onboard customers through Google Cloud Marketplace. And obviously it has this really amazing added benefit that you can then just pay for TrafficGuard through your Google Cloud bill. So it literally just gets added to that one bill that you're paying in Google Cloud, and all of it just sits in that one place. So it's an extremely efficient way to get invalid traffic detection and prevention. Just thought I'd finish by sort of showing you a couple of our biggest advocates. Some of you might be aware of Rappi, which is a huge unicorn in Latin America. Like, it's a triple unicorn, I think. And we've been able to increase return on ad spend by 25% for them. And I'm sure a lot of you are aware of Gojek, which is the Uber of Southeast Asia, one of our largest, I would say, flagship clients in Southeast Asia. And we're integrated into every single channel that they run on across multiple markets in Southeast Asia to drive user acquisition and growth. So we've only had 20 minutes to spend together, but I'm hoping that's given you a bit of an idea about the effects of fraud and invalid traffic and how a platform like TrafficGuard can very quickly integrate for you to help you to understand how it's affecting you and help you to prevent. So, to leave you with this summary, invalid traffic is a global problem. It costs advertisers billions of dollars a year, and this lost revenue is largely undetected. Most CMOs and advertisers are not even aware of this opportunity. With a platform like TrafficGuard, we can enable you to both detect and prevent for this invalid traffic to drive growth and return on ad spend. And if you're a growth-focused marketeer or a growth-focused CMO, like all of us are, then it makes a ton of sense to tackle this problem first, because there's huge return on ad spend benefits before you start moving into other optimization strategies, because you want to make sure that those optimization strategies are always landing on invalid traffic. And that's what we do for our client base. So we're really looking forward to getting started with and continuing to scale out our solution, in fact, into Google Cloud customers. And for all Google Cloud customers, we offer them a completely free, no obligation trial. So for all Google Cloud customers, once we're introduced, we'll actually set up our technology and we'll give them full access to the platform so that they can see how invalid traffic is affecting them. And as I'm sure you can understand, we do this for free with no obligation, because we expect to find a problem that we can help you with. And that's pretty much it for me. I hope this has been useful for you.
Thank you, Matt, for the insightful presentation and sharing your perspectives in terms of the global scale and impact of invalid traffic and the prevention methods along with it. And those initial numbers were startling. So $127 billion lost to non-human traffic and $364 billion lost revenue. And the capital erosion that is accompanied with it. Thank you so much for the presentation, Matt. Just a quick reminder to our audience. Please do answer the poll questions that was shared by Matt. And also a reminder to type in your questions if you have any in the Q&A box. With this, we move to the next session for the day. I would now like to call upon Ashwini Thapliyal, Head of Growth, OnlineSales.ai, for his presentation. Ashwini is the Head of Growth, Sales, Partnerships and Alliances for OnlineSales.ai in the APAC region. He has previously held leadership roles across AdTech and SaaS with companies like Hotstar, Adjust, Tune, Comely, and InMobi across the India and Southeast Asia region. Ashwini, over to you.
Thanks so much, Ashwini. And so, guys, we've been having a bit of a banter going on both of us, the moderator and the speaker, having similar names. So, and that's been interesting. So, thanks so much for your time. Good morning, guys. Fine. So, I'm based out of Bombay in India. It's pretty early here when we started, but good to have this opportunity. Thanks to the GCP team for helping set this up. I think this is going to be a pretty interesting session. And I think good to see Matt. I think I'm seeing him after almost 10 years. And great presentation. Fine. So the size of the challenge, which I think Matt and his team trying to address. Fine. So that's incredibly huge. I quickly just want to segue into my presentation. Let me just go ahead and share my screen. So what we are going to do now is talk about a different opportunity. Fine. So essentially retail media, there is a lot of content which is getting pushed out in terms of the size of the opportunity. How does one go about it? What are the challenges, etc., etc. So today, what we are going to do is that we are just going to dive in a bit deeper just look at some data points in terms of like what exactly is that size of opportunity, what are some of the challenges which online retail faces regarding that. And then we look at like how exactly OnlineSales.ai addresses some of those challenges and helps scale things up. So I'm going to get started. I'll most of my time I'll spend on the presentation. I just think that like just showing what we do visually just sometimes helps a lot. So we'll switch to a browser for maybe about 30 seconds. Fine. So happy to take any questions. Just reminder, put that in the chat box. So online sales brings technology, expertise, scale to essentially powering monetization for retail media. We work with more than 20 brands across the globe, 20 marketplaces, online retailers, and we'll talk more about what those names are, what are the kind of results that have been driven. First step, what I would like to do is I would like to just look at some of the data points which we have available. Fine. So we are seeing a paradigm shift in digital advertising. Fine. So the early 2000s were the rise of search, which is the blue wave, which you can see. Then 2010 onwards, and search, of course, continues to grow. Social, the wave started somewhere around 2010. And what we have seen in the last couple of years is the emergence of retail media. Fine. So that yellow bar which you see, fine. So the 2020s, so-called, would be the wave where we see a lot of scale happening in terms of retail media. So there has been a pretty much a global shift towards retail media spending. Fine. So these are some of the numbers. Fine. So 2023 is a projection, but if you look at this year, fine. So this year, US digital retail media spending is almost going to be about 17.2% of the total ad spends. Fine. For a medium which is not very, very old, probably fine. So Amazon obviously was Amazon and the Alibabas were the early drivers. Fine. The scale is tremendous over here. So there is a tremendous monetization opportunity which is there for online retail. Fine. So online retailers, marketplaces. So typically what we have seen is, fine, so basis like available numbers and also the 20 odd clients that we have helped on board and help them scale their monetization revenues. Fine. So monetization typically can drive about 5 to 8% of the GMVs and ad revenues. Fine. So this becomes a very, very significant number. So implementing a proper retail media monetization strategy. Fine. So that 5 to 8% number in GMVs for a $3 billion GMV online marketplace. Fine. So that's a $150 million opportunity just to start off with. Also, what it does is a lot of marketplaces have started looking at this, not just from a revenue point of view, but I think the second piece is that this essentially helps improve the gross margins a lot as well for online retail. Fine. So which is in most of the markets, one of the challenges. So that opportunity seems big. The industry seems to be spending money on retail media. So the obvious solution would be to build something in-house. Fine. But building a complete ad stack which just works, which is scalable, which works across your brand, sellers, everything, that needs a lot of heavy investment. Fine. So, and we are talking investment in terms of time, in terms of money, in terms of human capital. Fine. So, and it's not just a product which you implement and pretty much you're done. Fine. So there is a fair amount of training which needs to go with it. There is a lot of maintenance work which happens. Fine. Ad tech 5 years back, 2 years, even 2 years back versus what it's now. Fine. So there has been a sea change. So just to make sure that your in-house platform which you build is relevant, it needs a tremendous amount of investment. Fine. So typically we have seen clients ponder over a build versus buy when they are having conversations with us. And if even having a very, very basic solution, fine, so we are talking at least 2 years, 3 years, and the maintenance part is pretty much like almost non-quantifiable. So this is one of the biggest challenges. The opportunity seems big, but activating it needs a lot of investments. So what we do is essentially we have so think of us like Amazon Marketing Services. What Amazon has been building for the last almost about 11 years now, 11, 12 years, is something which we offer for online marketplaces and online retailers, and essentially which helps you keep in control. I just want to spend some time on this specific slide. Think of it from a retailer's point of view. Fine. So you are a retailer. You have usually you're present on about 4 platforms. Fine. So when I say platforms, I mean OSs. So you'll have some like your marketplace available on MWeb, on desktop, on Android, and iOS. Fine. So these are the 4 usual platforms on which you are available. So when I actually start looking at monetization or activating an ad stack, fine. So there are 2 parts to it. So if you look at the left-hand side, essentially what I need to do is activate my native ads, fine. So this is something which we help you with. So the pretty much the bread and butter for activating native ads for e-commerce, for online, for retail is product ads. They're also called product listing ads. They're called sponsored search, fine. So a lot of people have started doing this in terms of having a basic product, right? So, but this is one of the biggest revenue drivers for monetization. Then we also do product display ads. We integrate very, very deeply with the retailer, and we have access to the entire product feed and a ton of other data since we have a very deep integration. So we can actually generate display ads on the fly using the catalog, fine. So no human intervention needed, just improves sell-through rates, yields, etc. Finally, a lot of retailers have started looking at the brand monies as well. Fine. So rich media, video, doing innovations, coupons, etc. is something which becomes super interesting. And we help you. We consult our clients on how to implement this, where to implement this. We share our best practices for the industry, etc. So that's one part. On the right-hand side, what you will see is something called the Retailers Audience Network. Right? So usually what happens is that retail media, you see those growth numbers. Fine. So the inventory right now, the stage that the market is in, not all online marketplaces have retail media options available. Fine. So the inventory is pretty limited. So usually what's happening is that the ad dollars which are coming into retail are more than what the retailer can consume. Fine. So what we have as an option is that from one single interface, you're a brand. Let's say you're Samsung. You set up your campaign, and some of it will run on the native ads, and it will try to maximize yields and return on ad spend and all the metrics on the native ad side of things. The second part is that, like, for example, we also help our retail partners create an audience network. Right? So think of it this like a walled garden, which we create using the retailer audience segments across Google, Facebook, Instagram, not just Google, Facebook, Instagram, and similarly programmatic. If you're doing monetizing emails, push notifications, text messages, right? So all of this built into one stack. So from an advertiser's point of view, you're setting up a campaign on one interface, and essentially the platform is deciding how to allocate it across native and the audience network. All of this, of course, it's native, it's platform agnostic across Android, iOS, right? So it just works. It's white labeled. You offer it to your advertisers as your own offering. It's self-serve, right? So you want to work with 50,000 sellers and 600 advertisers, you can do that extremely easily. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly skip out of the presentation for one bit. It just becomes easier to explain things visually. So I'm just going to show spend some time on Tata 1mg. Fine. So this is one of our more recent clients. Fine. So they onboarded us, I think it's been less than a year, and they've been doing incredibly well. Fine. So this is their website, but the same thing works on across platforms. So you see these banners which are running over here. Fine. So these are powered by us. This is again a banner unit, which is ad unit, which is monetizable. Similarly, you see featured brands. This is a inventory which Tata 1mg is created. So all of these brands are paying either on impressions or for a fixed amount of time to actually have their logos present over here. And then when let's say I click on vitamins and supplements, I again see banners on the search page. And these are just some of the ad units, fine. So there are video ad units, etc. as well. What you can also see is that every third ad on the web, fine. So the small ad call out which you see, fine. So that's a product listing ad. So this is essentially the platform matches it to the right customer who's coming in, etc. So all of this is the front end which the advertiser is seeing, the consumer is seeing. From the back end, again, like I said, that it's self-serve. So you can actually just go to adpartners.1mg, you can sign up and you can start creating ads on the fly. I also had pulled out one small, so Blibli is a client. It's a large marketplace in Indonesia, right? So this is a seller's account, right? And they can use that to add funds to see all the numbers which are coming in. This is a dummy account, not a lot of data, but I can actually start creating campaigns over here. Fine. So again, all of this is powered by OnlineSales.ai. So to come back to the deck and go ahead. So the 2-3 things which we looked at is sponsored product ads or the product listings, which we saw on 1mg and many other clients. We also have sponsored display ads. Fine. So display ads usually brand advertising. Tailor audience network, which we were talking about, where essentially what's happening is that you are using the brand's money or the seller's money to actually run campaigns across Google, Facebook, the open internet, and that eventually lands back on your marketplace. So this essentially is brand funded footfalls. Moving ahead, primary use cases, who usually uses us? So we have Omni, like I have tried to add some Australian examples. Fine. So we are relatively new in this market. So we should see much more names coming up over here, which are specifically our clients. These guys are just calling out, not our clients. We would love to have them. But you have primarily 4 buckets. So you have omni-channel retailers. You like essentially online and offline combined. Then you have the online only retailers, you have the e-com marketplaces and the non-e-com marketplaces, right? So like, for example, a Gumtree would be an example for that. Who uses the platform, right? So the self-serve platform. So you have the sellers or the merchants, like sometimes they're called. You have brands and digital agencies. Brands might be endemic or non-endemic. Endemic in the sense like, let's say I'm Samsung and I have my whole brand portfolio listed on a marketplace, fine. So I actually run campaigns which redirect campaign to the marketplace. I'm an endemic brand. Non-endemic brands would be like, for example, a bank or insurance player who's running a campaign just to target a specific audience, fine. So they're not bringing the user back to the marketplace. Similarly, a lot of marketplaces have, for larger clients, they have internal operations teams, fine. So to offer managed service. And similarly, a lot of marketplaces have category teams. For example, a category manager for fashion, rather than run after the product team to boost their particular product lines, bring it on the homepage, etc. They can actually use this as a house ad platform as well. Moving ahead, I just quickly wanted to share a few case studies. Fine. So we have clients all over the world. I have Takealot, which is South Africa's largest e-commerce platform. Right. Within the first year, they've been South Africa is a country. Just for perspective, the population is about 60 million. Right. It's a developing country, but still, what we have seen that Takealot has been go from almost $0 to $10 million of ad revenues within a year of launch with us. The return on ad spend for sellers, fine. So which is the true health of the platform, is about 30x. Similarly, Purple, I think we are in month 5 or month 6 since we onboarded them. And Purple is already at about 2.5% of their GMVs and a return on ad spend for 12x. Similarly, Bleebly, their ad revenues have grown 5x. And you'll see across almost all the players, the seller satisfaction index, or essentially this is like an NPS, what percentage of sellers like the platform, are actively promoting the platform. It's almost close to 80 to 90% across all of her clients. Uh, Moving ahead, these are some of our clients, fine. So, like I said, that we are relatively new in Australia, but across the globe, fine. So we have clients. So Bleebly is in Indonesia, Takealot is in South Africa. Then you have a bunch of Indian clients. Conga is in Nigeria, fine. So Sendo is in Vietnam. So we have players all over, and we've really so we've onboarded folks who had a monetization up and running, and they wanted to improve on things. We also have onboarded completely greenfield accounts who are not doing any monetization. So why would you want to work with us? Right. So at the end of the day, the platform has been built by folks who come from a very strong retail background and from an ad tech background. Right. So the founders were product managers at Amazon in the early days of when Amazon started building out the ad platform. Right? So we have a great team in place. We have a completely white label solution, right? So it just sits in the background, right? And most marketplaces, right? So they like this. That, like, for example, it's their solution which the brands and advertisers see. Right? And you don't really need to do this at invest a lot of time and effort and money on this, right? So what we were talking about, if you go back to a few slides and remember that, I think one of the things which we had called out is that it's very intensive in terms of time, fine. But online sales, versus building a platform in-house, fine, you can actually start running campaign in as close to 4 weeks. Right. So we spend the first couple of weeks in getting the integrations in place, quality checks, testing, and then we just launch it with, we have clients who have literally gone live on day 30 or day 25, right? So with their early set of campaigns with the early adopters and larger brands. We that 4 weeks which we are talking about, that's a complete integration timeline, fine. Specifically, if you're a retailer, we typically need about a week's time of your from your engineering team, right? So our integration is essentially us getting access to the product feed, us having integration in place and we have multiple ways which we can integrate, where user events are synced to with us. We configure inventory, that where do you want the placements, where do you want the ads to appear. We recommend on that. And 1 day of testing, and then pretty much we are good to go. The rest of the effort is there on our end. So from zero to starting to monetize, it's just a 4-week journey, which is pretty incredible from a go-to-market point of view. Additionally, we are not just a platform, fine. So we are not just offering a platform which you can implement and start using it. You can do that, but we also help you with a bunch of things, fine. So all of our engagement with our clients is very, very linked, both commercially and from a business point of view, with essentially a scale up. So what we also do is that we help you with the GTM strategy, that we create a JBP in place for most clients, that what does the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days look like? What are the kind of goals which are there in place? There is a significant effort which would be needed from the organization in terms of training, organization design, etc. So we help with training internal teams, whether it's management or whether it's the operations people or people who are going to use the platform on a day-to-day basis. Similarly, we also help with seller lifecycle management. The idea is that you need to onboard as many sellers as possible. The process needs to be as seamless, as smooth, and as positive for the sellers as possible. And so we help a lot with that. And similarly, we work with close to 20 clients, fine. So we have people from retail media who are a part of our teams. Right? So we share what should be the benchmarks, like what are the best practices, etc. So summing up, fine. So you can build it in-house, but we can do it much faster at a fraction of the cost. We deploy it. It's a white label solution which you can deploy on your infrastructure. We make sure that like 100% of the ad inventory is monetizable, and fill rates are one of the KPIs which we work with. We support all ad types, fine. So whether it's text or display or product listings or video, etc. And essentially, we work towards a great experience for sellers, fine. So which is the platform will work really well if the sellers are getting the right kind of return on ad spend and experience. And this only in about 7 days of engineering effort. I and just to kick things off, we usually have a process, fine. So monetization is just specking out the numbers, etc. It's usually challenging, fine, but we have done that for tons of clients. So when we talk to you, we help you build a use case that, hey, is this the right time to monetize? Fine. So if you're going about it, what should be the phases? We walk you through the platform. We work with your product and engineering team, figure out what are the kind of customizations which are needed. We work with your business teams. We help you build revenue projections, a business case, which you can take internally. Fine. So this usually you need that from a sign-off point of view. Then we start working on an integration point of view, and we can literally go live in about 4 weeks, like a summed up. So looking forward to working with everyone. Right. So happy to take any questions if there are some. Thanks. Over to you, Ashwini.
Thank you, Ashwini, for sharing some use cases. That was really helpful. A quick reminder once again to answer the poll that Ashwini had shared earlier. And also, if you have not typed in your questions, now is the time as we move to the final round of the session on the Q&A session. I can see some questions on the screen. Matt, I guess the first question is for you. What are the main causes you see that contribute to the invalid traffic that you prevent?
What are the main causes?
What are the main causes you see that contribute to the invalid traffic that you prevent?
No problem. So there's obviously a lot in there, but to kind of go macro to micro, I guess, wherever there is the opportunity for fraud to take place in any industry, in any vertical, where there is an opportunity for bad actors to gain something that they shouldn't, then you will find it. It's an unfortunate aspect of humanity. So whether that's banking or, if you're a shop or any business that you run, you're always going to need to protect yourself against bad actors that are going to try and take something from you. So the advertising landscape is no different, and the growth of technology and programmatic has provided more and more opportunities for bad actors to conceal themselves and steal things and take things that they should not be taking. And so, that's what you see happening. And so the motivation is clearly to take something that they should not be able to take. And typically it affects advertisers, and they're taking from two parts. So either they're getting paid for an immediate engagement that they should not be getting paid for, which typically is an impression or a click. So if you're paying on CPM or if you're paying on CPC, then it's getting paid for that engagement that that they should not have been getting paid for. So they're stealing it through media buys, or it's getting paid for a conversion that they should not be getting paid for, whether that's an install, whether that's a sign up, a registration, a product sale. It's getting attributed for that conversion, and as such they're getting paid, whether that's a fixed fee or a revenue share. So it's bad actors looking to get paid for media or to get attributed for conversions that they should not be getting paid for, which is the same result, right? It's lost dollars from the business and it's gained dollars from the bad actor. And it has many forms, as you saw, that I kind of highlighted a little bit in the presentation, that it has many forms. At TrafficGuard, we have over 200 signals that allow us to go and detect and find that fraud and invalid traffic. And all of that is live and transparent within our dashboard. So advertisers that are using TrafficGuard have a real-time dashboard. It's literally like watching the stock market, where every single click, every single impression, every single conversion is verified in real time, and you know exactly what's real and what's not real. And if it's not real, you know exactly why it's been flagged as not real. And so hopefully that gives you a good overview.
Absolutely. Thank you, Matt, for your views. Ashwini, the next question is for you. Can you share some sense of the scale for an online retailer or marketplace where we should start looking at monetization, be it users, sellers?
Sure. So the right answer is the basic math, which I would suggest that you do is look at your GMV, do 5% of that. Is that a significant number from a business point of view? That's the first bit of math. The second part, what you can do is that you can start looking at your users. Fine. So some metrics which we typically look at is the number of sellers. Fine. So if your number of sellers and brands is in the hundreds, fine. So is when you should start looking at monetization. Similarly, look at your monthly active users, daily active users. Fine. So if you have a lot of users who are coming on a monthly basis or on a daily basis, fine. So you should be doing monetization. Fine. So at the end of the day, like for example, if you look at our products, fine. So you have the native ad inventory which you can monetize, but you can also monetize the audience network. Fine. So that really helps you scale. So any monthly active user, which is more than about, I think, a couple of million users, fine, so is usually a good time to start thinking about monetization. Right, and happy to do that. We have models in place. We have like 3 or 4 ways in which we look at help you value the size of the opportunity. Fine, so have a conversation with us. Happy to work with you on the math.
Right. Thank you, Ashwini. I think we are nearing the cutoff time, so I will have to wind this session up. Thank you for addressing the questions that we have. It has really been an insightful session, listening to our thought leaders in this webinar. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Ashwini, for your time and sharing some really valuable insights. It has been a pleasure to host you all today, and we look forward to some engaging discussions in the future as well. Most importantly, thank you to all our viewers for taking out time and tuning in for this session. Thank you.